In the rugged and unforgiving neighborhoods of Brooklyn, a storm was brewing. Behind the shadows of crime and poverty, a boy with raw power and unspeakable rage was being molded by the streets. That boy was Mike Tyson, a name that would one day shake the pillars of the boxing world. Under the tutelage of the legendary Cus D'Amato, Tyson began to channel his volcanic anger into something focused, something disciplined, into the destructive art of boxing. At the Cus D'Amato school, Tyson honed a terrifying combination of speed, power, and precision. His fists weren't just weapons, they were prophecies of pain. As he stepped into the ring, it became evident he was no ordinary fighter. He was a force of nature. From his professional debut in 1985, Tyson tore through opponents like a hurricane. The numbers spoke for themselves: 37 straight victories, many of them brutal knockouts. The boxing world watched in awe and terror as this young prodigy carved a path of destruction through the heavyweight division. The world took notice on November 22, 1986, when Tyson dismantled Jamaican heavyweight Trevor Berbick at the Las Vegas Hilton. That night, he didn't just win the WBC Heavyweight Championship. He shattered records by becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in history at just 20 years old. His knockout power was so devastating, so absolute, that most fights didn't go beyond a few rounds. Tyson followed this by collecting the WBA title after a dominant performance over James "Bone Crusher" Smith in 1987. He didn't stop there. He ripped the IBF title away from Tony Tucker later that year, completing the unification of all three major heavyweight titles. In just over 2 years, Tyson had transformed from a street kid into the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. His dominance was unquestioned. He was swift, explosive, and unpredictable, and, it seemed, unbeatable. For 3 years, Tyson reigned supreme, enforcing his will with an iron fist and flattening any man who dared stand across from him. Yet, in the sport of boxing, even the most feared giants eventually face moments of reckoning. That moment arrived on February 11, 1990, at the Tokyo Dome in Japan. On that fateful day, Mike Tyson faced a challenger named James "Buster" Douglas. While Douglas had a respectable record, he entered the fight as a 42-1 underdog. No one believed he stood a chance, not the odds makers, not the fans, not even the boxing analysts. But what unfolded in Tokyo would become one of the most shocking upsets in sports history. From the opening bell, it was clear this would not be a typical Tyson fight. Douglas, standing 6 feet 3 inches tall and hailing from Columbus, Ohio, was not intimidated. He used his reach and footwork to great effect, peppering Tyson with jabs and staying just out of range. As early as the 3rd round, Tyson's trademark bob-and-weave style began to falter. Douglas, with the confidence of a man on a mission, busted Tyson's face open in the 5th round, causing visible swelling under his left eye. It was the first time Tyson looked vulnerable in the ring. Commentator Larry Merchant famously noted that Tyson was facing adversity for the first time in his career. Even as Tyson regained some momentum in the middle rounds and landed a powerful uppercut that dropped Douglas in the 8th, it wasn't enough. Douglas got back up, regrouped, and returned with more resolve. The 9th round was a masterclass in boxing from Douglas, who outmaneuvered and outpunched the champ with ease. Then, in the 10th round, history was made. Douglas caught Tyson with a vicious uppercut, followed by a series of head shots that sent the once-invincible champion crashing to the canvas. Tyson tried to rise, fumbling for his mouthpiece, but the count reached 10. The fight was over. Mike Tyson had suffered his first professional loss, and the boxing world was in disbelief. Commentators, fans, and fighters around the globe scrambled for explanations. How could the baddest man on the planet lose like this? To understand Tyson's collapse, one must look beyond the ropes. James "Buster" Douglas came into the fight with his own demons. Just 23 days before the bout, Douglas lost his mother, Lula Pearl. Compounded with personal tragedies, including the illness of his son's mother and his own battle with the flu, Douglas could have easily pulled out. But he didn't. Instead, he transformed his grief into fury, using it as a driving force to deliver the performance of his life. When asked about the source of his resolve, Douglas simply stated, "Because of my mother. God bless her heart." On the other side, Tyson's preparation for the fight was alarmingly careless. Reports swirled about a chaotic training camp, lack of discipline, and a broken support system. After the departure of longtime trainer Kevin Rooney, a disciple of Cus D'Amato, Tyson's career began to slide off the rails. Rooney had been a critical figure in keeping Tyson grounded and focused, and without him, the champ lacked the structure that once molded his dominance. Veteran analysts like Larry Merchant, journalist Jerry Eisenberg, and promoter Butch Lewis all pointed fingers at Tyson's disorganized corner. They claimed it resembled a crew pulled from amateur circuits rather than a professional championship bout. Eisenberg once remarked, "They assembled a corner for that fight that looked like it was picked up out of the semi-finals of the Intercity Golden Gloves." But the whispers didn't stop there. R&B singer Bobby Brown, a longtime friend of Tyson, later revealed a disturbing truth. The night before the fight, Brown and Tyson allegedly engaged in a wild party in Japan, filled with women, alcohol, and distractions. Brown claimed there were more than 24 women in Tyson's room and that Tyson barely slept before the fight. Though Brown begged to keep it secret, the damage was already done. Whether true or not, these accounts added layers to the narrative of Tyson's unraveling. Following his loss to Douglas, Tyson's life began to spiral. He faced legal trouble, including the high-profile conviction in the Desiree Washington case, for which he served time in prison. Yet, even as he lost control outside the ring, he attempted a comeback. On March 16, 1996, Tyson reclaimed the WBC title by defeating Frank Bruno. The celebration was short-lived. Later that same year, on November 9th, he faced Evander Holyfield in a highly anticipated clash dubbed Finally. Tyson, expected to win, was outboxed and eventually stopped in the 11th round. It marked the second loss of his career. But what happened in the rematch would go down as one of the most infamous incidents in sports history. On June 28, 1997, Tyson met Holyfield again in a bout later dubbed The Sound and the Fury, but better remembered as the Bite Fight. From the outset, the fight was tense. Tyson struggled to land clean shots, and by the third round, his frustration boiled over. In a shocking act of desperation, Tyson bit off a portion of Holyfield's right ear. The fight was stopped, chaos ensued, and Tyson was disqualified. The Nevada State Athletic Commission suspended Tyson's license and fined him $3 million. The bite incident didn't just cost Tyson the match, it tarnished his legacy and left an indelible scar on the sport. It was clear that Tyson, once a machine in the ring, was now a man at war with himself. The years that followed were riddled with attempts at redemption, but none captured the same glory as his early career. It wasn't until 1999 that Tyson was granted a boxing license again. A fight was scheduled with British champion Lennox Lewis, but controversy marred its build-up. At the pre-fight press conference, Tyson and Lewis got into a wild brawl that required security intervention. Due to Tyson's legal history and the brawl, Nevada denied the bout a venue, and multiple other states followed suit. Eventually, Memphis, Tennessee, agreed to host the mega fight on June 8, 2002. The atmosphere was electric. Millions tuned in. But the Tyson who entered the ring that night was no longer the predator of old. Lennox Lewis systematically dismantled him with jabs and crosses. By the 8th round, Lewis delivered a crushing right hand that dropped Tyson for good. The fight became the highest-grossing pay-per-view event in boxing history at that time. Despite the defeat, Tyson was graceful in the aftermath, praising Lewis for his performance, a sign that perhaps the warrior had finally made peace with his battles. Tyson's career from then on was marked by decline. He briefly returned to the ring to face Clifford Etienne, knocking him out in just 49 seconds. But that flash of vintage Tyson was short-lived. Financial troubles plagued him. In 2003, Tyson declared bankruptcy, despite earning over $300 million in his career. Desperate for money, he agreed to fight British journeyman Danny Williams on July 30, 2004. Despite a strong start, Tyson suffered a surprise fourth-round knockout. A post-fight examination revealed a torn ligament in his knee, explaining his diminished movement. But excuses couldn't mask the reality. Tyson was a shadow of his former self. Yet he soldiered on. Mike Tyson's final professional bout came on June 11, 2005, at the MCI Center in Washington, D.C., against Irishman Kevin McBride. The fight was uninspired. Tyson, visibly tired and lacking the killer instinct of old, quit on his stool after the sixth round. It was an anticlimactic end to a thunderous career. Tyson later admitted that he fought McBride solely for the payday and had no expectations of victory. With that, the curtains fell on one of the most dramatic careers in boxing history. From 1985 to 2005, Mike Tyson compiled a record of 50 wins, 44 by knockout, and 6 losses. He exploded onto the scene with a first-round TKO against Hector Mercedes in 1985 and quickly became the sport's most fearsome figure. At just 20 years old, he claimed the heavyweight title and ruled with an iron will. Yet his legacy is more than just numbers. Tyson's story is about pain, triumph, rebellion, redemption, and tragedy. His rise was meteoric, and his fall catastrophic. But through it all, he remained captivating, a man whose name will forever echo in the annals of boxing. Now, the question remains, which of Mike Tyson's unforgettable fights is your favorite? Let us know in the comments.